3 hard knocks. Ranger, my old hound, growled low, a sound that vibrated deep in his chest. I froze mid-step, mug of coffee still warm in my hand, then moved slowly to the window. Through the glass, I saw him, a man on my porch, navy shirt tucked too neatly, plastic badge clipped crooked to his chest. His walkie-talkie swung from his belt like a child's toy. His holster? Empty. It wasn't just his gear that gave him away. It was the posture. Chin high. Shoulders back. A stance I'd seen 100 times, men desperate to look feared. Open up, he barked. HOA enforcement. You're in violation. Violation? This land, 40 acres of ridgelines outside Pine Valley, Montana, never had an HOA. That was why I bought it. I cracked the door, just enough for him to see the steel at my side and the badge gleaming on my belt. Commander Dan Mallister, I said, calm as a sermon. State Police. Retired. And you, son, are no cop. His face drained pale. For a heartbeat, the woods behind him fell silent. Then he twitched, hand grazing that useless radio, and bolted. Branches snapped as he crashed into the tree lean. Ranger lunged, barking fury. I held him back. Instinct screamed chase. Experience said wait. Because in the shadows, deeper in the woods, I saw it, a second figure. Watching. Waiting. 1 impostor was bad enough. 2 meant organization. And in my line of work, organization always spelled trouble. I shut the door, locked it firm. My hand rested on the holster. My heart steady, but alert. The knock wasn't harassment. It was a test. And I had just passed it. That night, sleep never came. Coffee went cold in my hand while memories pulled me backward. 3 years earlier, I'd stood in a hospital room, Lisa's hand in mine, as cancer stole her strength. 25 years of marriage. Toughest woman I'd ever known, tougher than half the men I trained. But even warriors lose sometimes. After the funeral, the city felt hollow. Every street corner, every diner booth whispered her ghost. So I sold it all. Packed up what mattered, her ring, a photo by Flathead Lake, Ranger's old blanket, and drove north until silence swallowed the noise. Pine Valley welcomed me. Bill, the Vietnam vet at the bait shop, with stories longer than the river. Marcia at the general store, baking cobbler so good it could break a man's heart. Sheriff Caldwell, my old academy buddy, still wore the badge with the blunt honesty I respected. For the first time in years, I felt something like peace. Then came the letter. Pinned to my gate one morning, red ink scrawled across plain paper. HOA notice. Unauthorized construction. Cease immediately. No seal. No signature. Just bold words meant to intimidate. I laughed at first. There was no HOA here. That was the point of this land. But Bill didn't laugh. Don't take it lightly, Dan, he warned. You're not the first. Cedar Creek's been pulling this stunt for years. They think they run the whole county now. I shook my head. Not my land. Surveys are clear. Doesn't matter what the papers say, Bill muttered. Matters what they think. A week later, I returned from a ridge hike to find my shed wrapped in yellow tape. Black marker scrawled across it, HOA enforcement. Do not enter. Crooked. Sloppy. But bold. That night, Caldwell came. He took photos, jaw tight. They've been pushing folks, he said. Fake patrols. Bogus citations. Most people cave before it gets ugly. Don't go cowboy on this, Dan. You're retired. Retired, I answered. Not dead. The tape came down. I thought maybe I'd earn peace. I was wrong. 2 days later, my power died. Utility crew showed with paperwork, forged in my name. That night, I sat on the porch in the dark. Ranger at my side. Shotgun across my lap. Not because I was afraid. Because I knew something was coming. And it did. The next evening, the shed was taped again. Sloppier. Angrier. This is escalation, I told Caldwell. Get ready, he warned. They're not stopping here. By the third night, Ranger woke me with a growl that shook his ribs. I killed the lantern, grabbed my sidearm, crept to the window. A red light blinked in the trees. Not fire. Not fireflies. A camera. I yanked it down, SD card still inside. Cheap, but aimed straight at my cabin. Someone wanted eyes on me. Before I pocketed it, Ranger snarled sharp. A figure slipped through the trees, hoodie pulled tight, slim build. This is private property. I barked, pistol raised. Armed homeowner. Show yourself. The man bolted. I chased 10 yards before instinct screamed stop. Too dark. Too many unknowns. Caldwell, I said into the radio. They're planting cameras now. At least 2 men on my land tonight. Stay put, he answered. I'm rolling. When he arrived, we reviewed the footage. The hooded man leaned into the lens, adjusting the angle, then stared dead at the camera, as if he wanted me to see him. He wasn't fumbling. He was sending a message. And behind him, barely lit by moonlight, another figure. Broad shoulders. Scar cutting across his jaw. A leader. From that night forward, I turned my cabin into a fortress. Fishing line strung between trees, tied to bells muted under cloth. Pressure plates buried shallow. Floodlights wired to one switch. Shotgun by the door. Sidearm on my hip. Rifle cleaned and ready. I wasn't looking for war. But I wasn't letting wolves circle unchallenged. The night they came, the air was too still. My laptop pinged, motion detected. 3 figures on the north ridge. 2 more west side. 5 total. A coordinated push. Scarred man in the lead, bolt cutters flashing. I whispered, "It's time." Ranger growled low. The first line tripped the bells. I flipped the switch. Floodlights exploded. The valley turned day. "Private property." I bellowed. "You're trespassing on federal land. Leave now." The men flinched. The scarred man sneered. "Your land? This valley belongs to Cedar Creek." He snapped the cutters. His men spread. I raised the rifle. Fired once into the dirt at his boots. Ranger barked like thunder. "You cross this porch," I roared, "and you won't leave." Silence stretched sharp as glass. Then, headlights. Caldwell's cruiser barreled in, sirens wailing. He leapt out, shotgun drawn. "Sheriff's Department. Hands where I can see them." The impostors broke. "Scatter into the woods." Scarred man glared back one last time, then vanished. Caldwell stormed up. "You couldn't wait, could you?" "They didn't give me a choice," I said, lowering the rifle. He scanned the clearing, evidence littered at our feet. His jaw tightened. "This time, Dan," he said, "we've got enough. They're finished." By dawn, deputies tracked the pickup stashed near the ridge. Inside, fake badges, forged citations, rolls of tape, and a binder of names, Pine Valley landowners marked for intimidation. At the bottom, one name circled in red, Daniel Mallister. "They wanted to break you first," Caldwell said. "Make an example." 2 days later, the scarred man was in cuffs. Name, Miles Harlan. Ex-security from Cedar Creek. Fired for brutality. Paid under the table to play enforcer. He sang quick. Cameras, forgery, surveillance, all traced back to Cedar Creek's board. Organized crime, dressed in HOA rules. Federal charges followed. The board scattered. Cedar Creek's empire cracked overnight. The valley breathed free again. Bill raised a beer on my porch. "Heard you gave hell, Dan. Pine Valley owes you." I shook my head. "No. We owe Caldwell. He brought the law when I was ready to bring war." Still, I knew the truth. We all stood together. That's why we won. Weeks later, the cabin sat quiet again. Ranger at my feet. The pines whispering in the breeze. I sat on the porch, mug warm in my hand, watching the sun paint the ridgeline. The impostors came thinking fear would break me. Fake badges. Fake authority. But here's the truth, freedom doesn't come from paper or uniforms. It lives in the backbone of those who refuse to bend. Bullies, whether masked, suited, or hiding behind HOAs, only win if you give them fear. Me? I've buried fear. This land is mine. This peace is earned. And the next fool who tries to steal it better hope the sheriff gets there before I do. Ranger shifted at my feet, ears twitching at some sound in the woods. I reached down, scratched his head. "Easy, boy," I whispered. "This valley's ours." The sun dipped low. Shadows stretched long. And for the first time in years, I felt it, true silence, true freedom. Always ready. Always watching. Always free.